We are ready. It's 9:04. I'd like to call the Crow Wing County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We will start with the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda, we are going to recognize John Melson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Today I'd like to honor a remarkable individual whose 10 years of dedicated service have left an indelible mark on our organization. That's John Melson. John, would you come up and join me? Get him out of his comfort zone. So as John embarks on a well-deserved retirement, I want to take a moment to reflect on his exceptional contributions. From day one, John's attention to detail has set the standard that many of us aspire to achieve. He approached every task with meticulous care, ensuring that nothing was overlooked. His commitment not only elevated the quality of projects, but also instilled a culture of excellence within his team. John's professionalism has been the cornerstone of his tenure. He approached challenges with a calm and collected demeanor, inspiring confidence in those around him. His ability to communicate effectively and foster positive relationships made a lasting impact on the workplace environment. Continuous improvement has been the driving force in John's career. He embraced new ideas and sought out innovative solutions, always striving to enhance processes and outcomes. His passion for growth has inspired us all to push our boundaries and seek excellence in our work. As a leader, John has been a guiding light for many, his mentoring of colleagues, encouraging them to reach their potential while fostering collaboration and teamwork. His leadership style has not only shaped our projects, but has also created a supportive environment where everyone can thrive. In project management, John's expertise was unparalleled. He navigated complex initiatives with skill and foresight, ensuring that our goals were met with precision and timeliness. His ability to manage resources effectively and anticipate challenges has been crucial for our success. As we bid farewell to John, we celebrate not just his professional achievements, but also the friendships he's forged and the legacy he leaves behind. John, thank you for your unwavering dedication, your exemplary leadership, and profound impact you've made on your team. You will be greatly missed, but we wish you all the best in your new chapter of your life. Congratulations on retirement.
John, come up and say a few words. Come on up, John. You want to grab a mic and say a few words?
No, he said it all.
Well, he said it all, if not a little more. Okay.
We do need a photo.
Yep. Photo op.
You hear this? I can do that if you want me in a picture.
No, I don't. Just.
I'll put you in the center. You want to hold this? Sure. You got to turn that back. You got to look good here, you know. Can we get one from the good side?
Always gotta be funny, don't you? I learned
a lot of good side.
Now to open forum. I don't have anything in front of me. Is there anybody here for open forum that wants to speak on something that's not on the agenda? Anybody here?
Anybody online? Anybody online?
Anybody online? Nope. Okay. We'll go on to review and approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Francine, second by Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Review and approve the agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Franzine, second by Barrows. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Barrows, second by Franzine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I would so move that we open the public hearing on the amendments to the solid waste ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Coring, seconded by Francine.
To open the public hearing.
To open the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we are open for public hearing. Anybody here to speak to this? Do I have to say that 3 times? Yeah. Anybody here for the public hearing for amendments to solid waste ordinance? Anybody online? Anybody here for amendment to the solid waste ordinance? Was that 3 times?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. Nobody here.
So, Mr. Chair, just a question. I wonder if we should, I guess people can look at the packet, but I wonder if just a quick explanation of what the county board is doing here probably would be in order.
Yep. Sounds good, sir.
Good morning. What you have before you today, Mr. Chair, members of the board, is an update to the county solid waste ordinance. Last time the ordinance was updated was back in 1994. We recently had our 10-year solid waste management plan approved by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And one of the requirements of getting that plan approved was that the state so that we also needed to update the solid waste ordinance at the same time. And so we've been fortunate to have Burns McDonnell as our consultant, helping us with landfill and solid waste related activities over the years. And they also assisted us in putting together this draft of the solid waste of the solid waste ordinance. This did go before the solid waste committee and recommended coming to the county board for the to make a recommendation to approve the ordinance. There is a memorandum in your packet dated September 5th from Burns McDonnell, and just with some summary and over what's being updated and changed. Really, what we're trying to do is just clarify some more detail for hauler licensing requirements for those companies that use the landfill for solid waste disposal. Had some clarification on solid waste storage, collection, and disposal, and particularly related to nuisances. I know that our current ordinance now is had some rather weak language referring to nuisances and that, and so we strengthened that to give us a little more ability to encourage folks to get their properties more cleaned up and maintained better. And then just making sure we have good, clear language for facility requirements. Any of the fees that the board would like to set is clarified in this ordinance as well as inspections, violations, and enforcement of the ordinance.
We're still in public hearing?
We are.
Okay.
We did put this out for public comment. We received a couple comments, one from a gentleman wondering if the county would look into doing more of an organized collection where the county would organize and be the ones that would set the haulers and set up districts and zones within the county and assign different haulers to do that. And then another was just from the city of Nisswa, just asking for some clarification on the ordinance itself.
Mr. Chair, just a follow-up question on that. Do we have the authority to even set it across the county? Or do the municipalities have their own authority?
So the solid waste ordinance does actually is for the county in general, but most cities have ordinances that are more restrictive, frankly, than what the county has. So typically, if we get any sort of complaints related to solid waste, it does get referred to the city, and they typically take care of that themselves.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if there's no other public comment, I would so move that we close the public hearing on the solid waste ordinance.
Motion by Coring, seconded by Franzine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Public hearing closed on the solid waste. And they're asking for approval of the of the amendments to the solid waste ordinance.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Coring, seconded by motion by Franzine, seconded by Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. The solid waste ordinance amendment is approved.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to open a public hearing regarding updating the Crow Wing County Recreation Ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Barrow, seconded by Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in a public hearing for the update to the Crow Wing County Recreational Ordinance. Is there anybody here who would like to speak to that, or anybody online that would like to speak to that? Is there anybody here or online that would like to speak to that?
Mr. Chair, if Chris would indulge us and give us a little,
I got one more time, I got to do that.
one more time, go ahead.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak to the update for the Crow Wing County Recreational Ordinance? That is my third time. Now,
Mr. Chair, Chris, if you would give us a little update on that too for the
Thank
public.
you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Barrows. What you have before you today, excuse me, is an update to the county's recreational use ordinance. This would have rules and requirements for activities on county administered lands within the county itself. What you'll see in the ordinance that we've got regulations and things that cover items like county parks, our public water access points, trails, camping, environmental protections, hunting, trapping, and then the violations and penalties that go along with that. So this is an ordinance that does combine another ordinance. We had a standalone ordinance for hunting stands on county land. We've now encapsulated that into this ordinance, so now there's just one ordinance related to the recreational use for the county, including that. And then there was one proposed change to this that we received based on comments that we received. We currently, if you look at on page 3 under hunting and trapping, we had it set in there that hunting stands will be prohibited within 300 feet of a trail. And we got a comment from the DNR thinking that maybe 300 feet might be the wrong number. It might be more to stay 50 feet off a trail. But then to go back on page 4, where 8.10 would be then prohibit trapping of any kind within a park or access or within 300 feet of any trail. So just wanting to make sure that we're not pushing deer stands so far off of a trail that's unreasonable, but also wanting to make sure that we're not putting anybody that would be using a trail with possibly an animal or a dog, that there would be any concern over getting an animal in a trap like that. So that'd be the only change based on the original draft that was presented to the board. This has gone through the Natural Resource Advisory Committee, has reviewed it, and has recommended approval as well. And as I mentioned, we did get some comments from based on this, and one of the comments was that wanting to have more like garbage cans out and that but they had appreciated the trails. Another comment had talked about that riders should be able to use ATVs within the parks and that, in which we still not sure don't think that's probably the right spot to be having ATVs in the parks, as well as then another clarification for the city of Nisswa. And then the last one that we referred to was from Christine Rise with DNR about that setback distance for trails and for trapping. So I think this ordinance really takes some previous ordinance and puts it into one, and I think will make it so people understand what the expectations are when using county lands for recreational uses.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, I would make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
motion by Barrows, seconded by Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I would make the motion to support the updated Crow Wing County recreational ordinance.
Motion by Barrows, seconded by Franzine. All in favor? I have a question. Can I ask that question now?
Absolutely.
So when we have a park that's inside of a jurisdiction, whether it be a township that has planning, zoning, or whatever, or has their other ordinance, or a city, like up with the fire tower that's kind of in the jurisdiction, do we abide at all by theirs? Let's say there is no hunting or no trapping or something like that, that they have citywide. If our park is inside of that city, do we abide by theirs, the most restrictive or the less restrictive?
We would always work with a municipality if there's any separate regulations that we need to follow. So we would coordinate with them for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was all I had.
Yep.
So we had a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to open the public hearing regarding the petition to vacate part of Hartley Drive.
Second.
Motion by Barrow, second by Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we are in public hearing to hear the vacate for part of Hartley Drive.
Good morning.
Good morning. Name for the record and stuff?
Excuse me.
Name and stuff for the record, so.
Alex Kuhn, appearing with Mr. Stephen Titsy.
Go ahead.
Oh, yes, so we're seeking a road vacation, more specifically, that part of Hartley Drive as dedicated on the plat of First Edition to Hartley Shores, lying easterly of the west line of Lot 1, Block 3, extended northerly said part, and lying westerly of the east line of said Lot 1, Block 3, extended northerly. It's our position that all the elements for vacating this portion are established. We have a petition that's signed by all interested neighbors or all neighbors that are within 3 miles. They are not opposing said road vacation. There's an affidavit of mailing for all affected parties that have been placed on notice for said road vacation. Notice of affidavit of publication has also been submitted, and I will open up to any questions, but from our position, the elements have been established to vacate the road that, the portion of the road that they are seeking in the application. If you have any historical questions, you can certainly defer them to Mr. Titsy.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So looking at the map that's up there, so can you just, I see something in blue there, so can you just explain where the vacation would be, and then what is the reasoning on this?
Okay, we live at the end of Hartley Drive, and it shows on some maps that Hartley Drive connects to Hartley Circle. It doesn't. That's actually our driveway. The reason we'd like it vacated is we get people turning around in our yard a few times a month. There's really, I mean, they're right in front of our garage. If we have vehicles there, they end up backing on our lawn. A couple weeks ago, a couple guys on four-wheelers came in. They were looking for a place to bow hunt, you know, and looking at the plat maps, and there's a hunting app out there that shows the road going through. You know, it's been our driveway for 14 years. It's been like this for about 50. I think 1972 was when that was made a driveway.
Excuse me just a second. Could you bring up 73C? It may be a little better picture of it. It's in color. Yeah.
Yeah, the wooded, I mean, the colored portion, the aerial, maybe the aerial view you might be looking for would obviously indicate that this is a wooded area.
There, that one there looks, it kind of, I think, does a little better job of describing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you look
Thank
at the
you.
aerial GIS mapping, you can see that obviously it was never a road. It's a wooded area.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So what does the green indicate?
That's the other parcel that's owned by.
Right. That's our parcel also, and that's what started this 14 years ago when we realized the taxes weren't paid out of our escrow. My wife started the paperwork just to make it one parcel, just for convenience. And I forget who she worked with at the county, who was real helpful until she got to the point that said, well, wait, we can't do that. There's a road there. So we just kind of dropped it, forgot about it, paid the taxes. But over the years, it's just, we just get people keep coming in our yard thinking it's the road going through, and it just doesn't.
So just a couple of questions, if you could just answer that. So right now, Mr. Chair.
Yes, well, please do.
So the green is not where your house is.
The upper green is,
The upper green is.
yes,
And you own the little triangle part.
correct.
It doesn't, would that even be a buildable lot? I mean, would there be a building envelope, or you don't know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer to that. We wouldn't do it. Yeah, I mean, we would maybe put a building, a garage, or, a shed or something, but
So how do you, Mr. Chair, so how do you access your property, where your house is, Hartley Drive? Is that how you access your property?
Hartley Drive, yes, our address is Hartley Drive, and the red line there is actually our driveway. It was paved, we paid to have it redone. It's been our driveway since we've owned it, and from what my neighbors tell me, it's been a driveway since 1972.
So, Mr. Chair, so if somebody was on Hartley Circle and they wanted to get to Hartley Drive, they can't drive on that red portion there that,
No, there's actually a fence it'd be the end of the red line, at the top of the red line.
okay.
And that's been there as long as I know.
So you mean
So we're-
you put excuse me, but you put your driveway and everything on publicly dedicated right away?
We didn't, it's been there since 72,
Since-
far as I know,
How long have you had the property, Steve?
14 years.
Yeah. I don't know when the plat was done. I have no idea on that.
When these people
Would you like to?
would like to talk. Our county engineer would like to speak.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak on this? Do you have something? It's in unorganized, right? Your district?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you. So this process for application for a vacation goes through a county process where the administration and the auditor treasurer verify the signatures, and land services looks at the property, and the attorney's office also looks at it, and then the highway department is asked to look at it too. And that's how it ends up at my office. And one of the things that we are looking at is there any current or future use or potential for use for transportation uses. And my comments related to this are that there are future transportation uses for this. This is public property currently. Although there is not a current road there now, there is a potential of connecting Hartley Drive and Hartley Court with Hartley Lake Road. So if you have a pointer, can I use your pointer?
Oh, yep.
Okay. Making this connection between here. One of the challenges that we have in the FAD, and it makes it very difficult to maintain, is the discontinuous nature of all the roads. Think about having to plow these roads and maintain these public roads, go down to a cul-de-sac and dead end. And although we have not tried to make this connection, there may be future request to do that. And we want to eventually make this a continuous system as we can to have our maintenance efforts to be continuous as possible. And so my recommendation is to not allow this vacation because of that potential. It has, the plat was 1968, and so it was platted to the public in 1968, and I'm not sure when the houses and things started to go in there. So this is unlike many of the others that you've seen recently on the north side of North Long Lake that are already fragmented, and there is absolutely zero potential of them ever being a transportation asset in the future. This one has the potential, and that's why I forward my recommendation to not allow it, because someday, it might be 50 years from now. I mean, it was platted in 68, and it's been there like this for a while, but it has the potential of a transportation asset. And so that's the basis of my recommendation, is to not allow this, because it does remove that potential. I think there's some lots in here that are currently unoccupied and undeveloped. They're all there, but there's not houses on them individually. Someday when those all split out and be separate, the folks within there may want that road to be developed, this one, and then also be continuous. So again, that's the basis for my recommendation to not allow this vacation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so are all these roads, Hartley Drive, Hartley Lake Road, are they all public roads that are in the unorganized system?
Yes.
They are?
I just handed another thing for consideration, a new discovery that we found yesterday, or Rob brought to my attention, is that that plat that was filed in 1968 also mentions an easement on on this particular property, and I think we're kind of upside down. There's a reference to it in the plat. Oh, one more turn. There we go. There's a reference to it in the plat, and it's, we haven't verified the easement. It might be on your property documents. There's a 20-foot easement, so you'll see that this is pretty narrow in here, and you might ask, well, it's not 66 feet. How could it ever be a road? Well, back when this plat was filed, it references an easement of another 20 feet to get it, which lies on partially on your property and all those along there. So if the county board was to move forward with the vacation of what's platted there, it would also have to include somehow to vacate that easement on those properties too, because that is also dedicated to the public, is our understanding. So it's just another little twist. If you so choose to move forward, there may be more to be included that is considered public easement.
So then a question, I'm assuming you're a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that do to it then, with what he just said?
With regards to a potential easement that's reflected, I don't, without looking at the land record, looking at the title that would indicate the easement that's been established, I'm here for the road vacation. Yeah, I guess I can't comment on whether there's an easement. The basis is the vacation. There has been no public usage. You've gotten no issues with any of the neighboring parties that have been placed on notice. As Mr. Titze has indicated, the property's been in his hands for 14 years. It's not been used for any public purpose at that time. He's indicated that, prior owners have indicated it's been, the plat's been there 68. And once again, there's been no intentions of moving anything forward for any public purpose. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but as you can see there is obviously public access. It wouldn't be contiguous if that obviously that road vacation is granted, but once again, there is still public access for these parcels that we're seeing. It's, the Hartley Lake Road, and obviously Hartley Drive. So I believe the elements have been established for a road vacation that the applicant has submitted.
Question for Tim. So that Hartley think it's called Circle, is it? Or Hartley?
Yes.
CL, whatever that is.
Yep.
Is that, even with that easement, does it give you 66 feet?
The easement that I just
Showed,
showed goes all the way up through these parcels. The plat doesn't include, I want to say these parcels.
but does it give Hartley Circle or Hartley Court, whatever that is, Hartley
This one?
Circle? Does it give it 66 foot then with that easement, or are we still short of having 66? Because I don't think we take over roads unless it's 66 foot.
It appears that there is a 20-foot easement. See how it narrows down? This is 66 feet from this point to this point, and then it kind of necks down. It's about 40 feet, 46 feet, and then there's another easement on the north side of this, so it would make it 66 feet. So there is 66, subject to reviewing that easement document. We just found reference to it on the 68 plat.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did pull the deed that reflects ownership of the Titsis, and it does not reference any easement.
There might be other records of it sometime, you know.
Yeah, I know.
It's not
It's
as simple,
unorganized.
it's not as simple as.
It's unorganized territory for a reason, right?
Yeah, it might take further review of that. So it might be reflected on these properties, though, so we can get into that later.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So for Tim, I don't know, I guess I'm still trying to figure out your reasoning for not being in favor of this. So you want it to be a road, in the future, you want it to possibly be there for a road to continue on? So, or what?
I think it's removing, Commissioner Coring, it's removing the potential of making continuous, these roads continuous. It's removing the potential, and if there is a calling once these develop, for example, if these lots develop and there is a request to make the road wider or continuous through there, we would have to go back to Mr. Titsi and his wife to purchase property for them to do it. Right now, it's publicly held. And so it is all, my recommendation is based on the potential, or losing the potential of doing that. And that's the difficult decision that you all have is the potential of that happening in the next couple decades worth denying the request.
And Mr. Chair, so that's your driveway now, that red portion is your driveway, so
Correct.
And so when you're saying people are turning around, so they come up Hartley Drive and instead of taking a right, and it looks like there's a roundabout there, or not a roundabout, but a turnaround, and they come up thinking that they can go through there and then they get to your yard, or?
Right.
And actually, according to the way it's listed on the map, they can go through there. It's dedicated public easement.
Right, and we put a sign at the end of the driveway, private property, no turnaround, which has helped, but like the guys, the hunters, or they said they were looking for a place to hunt, they were kind of belligerent about it, and they were right in front of my house, like where I park a car, and that's not part of the road, or what could be road. I don't know that it's for what it's worth. Hartley Circle ends at that end of the red line. It doesn't go south. I don't know if that makes any difference here.
That road hasn't been completed or put in yet. So there is no, that road dropping down to the cul-de-sac. That's all just raw land at this time. But it is a deeded plat, it is a plat.
What you see
Yep.
are the platted roadways. So those outlined in blue are platted roadways. Now, some of them don't have roads on them. That's Mr. Titsi's point, is that there's no road currently occupying that.
So then that brings up another question. So then, if it's all platted and there's no roads, who's going to put the roads in?
To get to these lots, you're gonna have.
Depends on the request. It might be the developer that does want to develop this. It might be a county board decision to do that, or a future county board decision to make this continuous
I don't know that
network
we've
of roads.
ever, been here 12 years, I don't think we've ever done that. Say, well, there's some lots down here, we're gonna put a road in. Never done that. I don't
You might be
think-
requested to do that, is what I'm saying.
The developer
So
will
to-
request that he be able.
To actually build the road and, I mean, I've seen it where people have requested that we pave their road, but actually, to actually build a road? You think that might happen?
If a developer goes in there.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the county engineer. Thank you. Tim, what do you think?
Do I think that we would ever do it? If a
Would you
developer said,
Would you recommend that?
it depends on the circumstance. I know that isn't, yeah, you want a yes or no answer, but I think it depends on the circumstance of what the developer of that area requests.
I don't know. This is,
Is it okay if I ask a question?
Yeah, go
Okay,
right ahead.
Thank you. So on that Hartley Circle, if, just to the red line, just, you know, from starting up at where it comes to Hartley Lake Road and then goes to Hartley Circle, do we have 66 feet? You propose that we have, or you think we have 66 feet with that road and that easement supposedly granted to those lots, or granted from those lots?
Yes, I believe the plat says 46 platted roadway, and then there's a reference to an easement that he's currently not finding on Mr. Titsy's deed.
To get us up to where that red line. So part of his lot on the lake, part of Steve's lot on the lake would have that 20-some foot easement, or would have it all the way along that property ID number 99150743.
Can you go back to the plat and zoom in? I think that'll help with your answer. It references a 20-foot easement all along these properties.
Okay,
And we,
so it'd be all the way
so
up.
notice that this lot is, I'm sorry, is this lot, right? You own this lot and you own a portion of this lot. And so that referenced 20-foot easement goes all the way along this line, which is adjacent to the platted roadway. So it's actually in a different plat. It might be located not on your deed only, but it might be on the plat that includes this area. The whole area is platted. And so, yes, the answer then is this, I believe, says 46 feet. It's hard to see that. And then this dedicated easement is 20 feet here. So that makes a total of 66 feet. So it could, we have all the property we need to build a road there if it's requested, if I was directed, if a developer wanted to come in and do it when developing Hartley Circle, they would have the property to do that, and that would be, I'm saying, in our best interest to allow them to make the continuous network of roadways that we desire in the First Assessment District.
So I thought, Mr. Chair, I thought when something's platted, the roads have to be put in, or is that not necessarily the case?
In 1968, that was not the standard.
So who owns, Mr. Chair, who owns all these lots going down? Is this Hartley Circle where there's a turnaround down there? Is that, who owns all that? Is it individually, people own individual?
These lots along here, Commissioner Corey?
Yes, yes.
They're individually owned. Some own a couple adjacent to one another.
But if there's no road, how do they get down to those lots?
Is it a trail now?
If you went to the aerial photo, we could maybe ascertain if they're, how are they getting, I know that there's one main
There's roads to all
home,
those lots.
kind of right in the middle on the west side.
Right. The ones at the top of Hartley Circle, there's two lots that are one, there's two parcels that are one
There's
owner.
one.
They can access it from Hartley Circle. Everybody else on the west side of Hartley Drive accesses those lots from Hartley Drive. And those are, if we could get back to the picture, those,
I think.
so
You can use the laser if you need it.
yeah. Oops.
Yeah, just. Just press the red.
Well, so anyway,
Hold it in.
the top two lots, okay, here and here. Wow.
I think I know what you're saying. I think what he's trying to say is that
Okay,
these lots right here access up Hartley.
Those are accessed on Hartley Drive,
these.
and those, there's no Hartley Circle there. Those lots go to the other side of Hartley Circle. Right, those are, that parcel is all Wagner's. The top two parcels on the left side there of Hartley Circle, those are accessed from Hartley Circle. And then everything else to the right of or left of Wagner's is all accessed from Hartley Lake Road.
So these two parcels are being as one parcel, even though there is a
Correct.
platted road in between them.
Correct, actually, I guess we'd have to look at a different view, but I think they're right on that road. Their house, Wagner's house, and another one south. But exactly, I don't know. You know, it's not exactly to scale.
Mr. Chair, I have to admit, I'm confused, and I think there's some more legalities and research that needs to be done to at least help me make a decision on this particular case. So personally, I would be in favor of tabling this to a future date, but I don't know how the other commissioners feel.
If you table it, it's tabled.
Pardon me?
If you table it, it's tabled.
I haven't tabled it yet, and we're still in public hearing, so.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it again, just with the information I have, and it's not in the district I serve, but for that red line, to go, to become part of together, I don't have as much problem with that as long as we have 66 foot coming down to it and 66 foot going down through what isn't even named as a road at this time, but whatever we'll call it. As long as we have that available to us, I don't personally have a problem with that little green spot becoming part of the other spot, because it's already been that way. And I don't know what the other history is on the other lots and what's been developed in that area. Until I have that, I would have a hard time making a decision on it also.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think you have a couple of options. You can continue the public hearing if you think that there is still more additional public comment that would need to be made in this regard. You could continue the public hearing to your next meeting. You could close the public hearing at this point, but table any action on the request until another specific time to get more information that way. So there are two things that you can look at. One being the public hearing side of things, the other being the action that's being requested as well.
And then, Mr. Chair, if I can ask, so who has signed the petition? Is it everybody that is like in a circle around that property, or?
They've signed the petition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they haven't had they didn't come with obviously any dispute with regards to what's being requested.
Part of the process, Commissioner Coring, is that we have a signed petition, and then the Auditor Treasurer's Office verifies that they actually live there and that they're valid signatures, and that has been done.
So another question, if that'd be okay, Tim, so down the road, what would be wrong with somebody coming down Hartley Circle, and then if the road dropped down to where that turnaround is, or where it's platted, why? I guess I just don't understand why this little red piece has to still be in play. I guess I don't.
Commissioner Coring, it just removes the future possibility of this being a continuous roadway from here to here.
Right.
That's it. So there is a potential for future use to improve the transportation system. And that is the basis of my recommendation. If you feel that is not important, then that's,
When you say improve, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. It just so that, I don't know, I guess if it was me, I'd like to have a dead end so that I don't have any creeps or criminals driving by. I mean, the only people that would come down are the people that live there, you know?
from my perspective at the highway department, I'm looking at the efficiency of snow plowing and maintenance. He's looking at it completely different in terms of less people going through his house. And so it's from an efficiency of snow plowing standpoint, it's better to have them eventually be continuous.
But if it was continuous, and if that, the one at Hartley Circle, in a turnaround, they'd still have to turn and go down there and then come back out, wouldn't they? Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm confused. I guess I don't know. It's Rosemary's district. I give deference to that, so I don't know. Whatever you think. What do you think, Rosemary?
Well, I think I would follow the county engineer's recommendation. At some point, you may not be there, and somebody may want to go down here to this road. To get to this road now, you have to go all the way down here and back.
With all due respect, you've got usage versus, what's real. I mean, the potential versus what's reality. And I understand what the engineer has indicated, but you've heard Mr. Titsey talk about he's been there 14 years. The plat's from '68. There's no road established. I think you got a lot of hurdles. I understand the potential, but I don't think you can look at it in a vacuum. You have to look at it from what's been played out. And, Mr. Titsey's established that there is no public use. I mean, it's not been used. And so, for those reasons, we're seeking the road vacation.
Well, if the fence was down, it would be, he said there's a fence right at the end, but just because you put a fence up doesn't mean that it isn't a platted road.
Not denying that. You didn't put it, the fence was, when was the fence put in?
I don't
Before you
know.
were there?
Yeah, before I was there.
And something I don't know is, until I get an aerial or see what else is there, the road that's not identified, the one that's dipping down there, is there people already built across that road already?
That's what Mr. Titsey's kind of indicated.
And I would like to know that, because if that's the case, that to say that that somebody's gonna develop down that way, what are they using for a driveway now? If they're only using Hartley Drive, is that the other one, Hartley Drive, and that's what they're using now as a driveway, I don't know. I'd like to get more information. I really would.
I really think we need to have a plat to see where the houses are sitting, because if they're already sitting on the road.
Do we have a GIS on that at all?
I do. I don't know if it's uploaded. I can certainly submit it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, if you have one, yes.
I'm just wondering, the county board has went out on a field, I don't know if you call it a field trip. We have gone out a couple of times since I've been here to look at it, and I think maybe that would help us to make sense of it. I don't know.
I like that idea.
What do you think of that, Deb?
We certainly could do that. That is an option.
Because I know when we did the one in Commissioner Hoag's district, we all went up there. That's still ongoing. And then when we was going to pave, what road is it in your area, we went out there and looked at it, Rosemary. I don't remember what the name of it was, but we were all five out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Would that be okay? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Looks like there's another road that isn't even on this map from the.
What?
Yeah, I think we
So
should.
here are
go
the
out
two
there.
parcels that in question, and this is the area in question. And here is that cul-de-sac road that goes down with lots on either side. These are the lots that Mr. Titsey mentioned was accessed by Hartley Drive. And it doesn't look like they're built on now, but
Well, there's actually a house, it looks like there's a house right on, in a lot on Hartley Circle. I don't even know, there's not even a road there.
That
they
looks
go
like
to
a road,
Hartley
but it isn't a platted
Drive.
road.
Huh?
That you can kind of see the dirt path goes to Hartley Drive, that's their driveway.
I see that. Goes through some other lots.
Yep.
They own those lots too.
Oh,
Do they own all those lots, or don't you know?
he said they owned the lots.
I'm sorry,
That's
what?
he said.
Do they own all those lots?
Wagner's do, they don't own the top two,
Okay,
and then, I can't read the number, the blue circle, or triangle is ours, and then, Wagner's own the lots in front between their house and Hartley Drive.
Commissioner,
Yeah,
I mean,
we
Mr.
still,
Chair.
we're still in the public hearing yet unless we,
Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrows, what do you think about a little field trip out there?
Right now, let's go. I think that's a good idea. I think
Okay.
that would give us a
So,
better
Mr. Chair,
perspective on
to ask the county administrator, what would we do then? Would we just,
Do you believe there is still a need for additional public comment in this particular instance? Or is it just to make
No.
additional information for all of you to be able to make a decision?
exactly?
In that case, I would suggest that you would close the public hearing, and then you would defer action on this, table action until a later date for you to get a site visit and additional information.
that sounds great.
Oh, that's
So-
great.
So close the public hearing.
Close the public
So,
hearing.
first of all, my question is this: that easement runs all the way from that corner up there down through his property. And so if we're going to vacate part of that, that impacts those other properties.
Yes, it does.
And I think that we need to have clarification, and those people need to understand that we're eliminating that entire easement, is my understanding. Is that correct, Tim?
if it is discovered that the easement exists and we need to do a little homework on that,
Right.
you would have to modify the petition to vacate, to include this roadway and the easement, I would say up to a certain point.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the
Not
entire.
these up here, because then
Right.
you're totally closing this
Yeah,
off from
That's not the
future
request.
Right.
But I think full disclosure should be made to those other property owners that that's what's being proposed.
Is that what's
That's
being,
not part of their
is that
petition
what's
at this
being
point.
proposed?
I don't believe
But
so. I
that-
mean,
only what's being proposed is just
No,
that road.
but that's where
only
we
the
would,
portion,
that's where we would be going
Essentially from here to.
if we close that.
You need a ladder?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
all that's
Right,
requested.
correct.
But if we do that, Paul, we're changing that easement, and that would have to, when do we have to?
The 20-foot easement would remain in place, because that's not part of this.
Yeah, that's not part of the road
Proceeding.
vacation.
What
We've
I'm
got work to do
suggesting
on
is
this.
if you move forward with it, you also include disposition of the easement along the same line, but not vacate it on these
Not-
properties.
Exactly.
And we can work together if that's your wishes to move forward with that.
Mr. Chair, I'm hearing that there's a need for more information, additional information from the Highway Department, from the petitioners, to make sure that we have all of the correct information,
services,
and a
too.
site visit to make sure that you're all comfortable with what the ask is. So I would suggest at this point that you would close the public hearing, and then you could table the action on it to the next meeting or to a specific date in the future as well.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to close the public hearing on the petition to vacate part of Hartley Drive.
Second.
Motion by Coring, second by Franzine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we are closed the public hearing.
And then, Mr. Chair, I don't know that we should have a date specific, because it sounds like some more homework needs to be done, so,
You could just table it and then pick it up off the table again when you're ready.
okay.
Okay.
Then I would move to table the petition to vacate Hartley Drive until we bring it back up, the county board brings it back up.
Second.
Is that okay?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I did.
Okay, motion by Coring, second by Franzine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it has been tabled.
And Mr. Chair, if I could ask again, so what do you think about the idea of going out there? Do you think we need to go out there? Rosemary, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think we need a map from Gary that tells us,
Okay.
you know,
And then maybe we don't need to go.
there's another, looks like driveway that goes through.
Yeah.
But we need to know who each one of these lots belongs to, because if they all belong to the same person, we maybe don't need to.
Okay.
But there's too many unanswered questions
Sure.
right now to even know.
Yep, you're right.
I think once we get that homework done, then we can make that decision if we want to go out there and do a site survey, so.
Okay.
I need to take a break for just a second, is that okay?
Yes.
You're running the meeting.
Okay. I'm going to take a break, or let the board take a break for a minute.
Thank you.
He's taking a break for a couple minutes.
Beat that one. Beat that one.
I don't think so. Okay, on next item on the agenda is community services. Oops, okay. Okay. Next item on the agenda is community services.
Hello, Mr. Chair, County Board, Kara Terry, Director of Community Services, here today to provide additional information related to a request that our opioid coalition brought you a while back. You might remember the discussion around the opioid coalition approving dollars to be spent on a number of different expenses, including from the Sheriff's Office, but also Bridges of Hope and the Bridge on 7th, which is the warming shelter that is typically open during the fall and winter months. The coalition had a discussion at their meeting and decided it would like to allocate up to $200,000, being $100,000 per year for 2 years, to fund ongoing operations at the Bridge on 7th shelter. Bridges of Hope did not bring it to us at the time. The coalition had brought it forward as an idea. Bridges of Hope then had a discussion with their board around the possibility of being open year-round, and Jana, the director of Bridges of Hope, is here today to both present information for the Bridge on 7th and answer any questions that you might have related to the Opioid Coalition's approval of the allocation of $200,000, to which the county board would need to provide final approval if you so choose. So I turn it over to Jana.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Good morning.
We do have some slides that we presented to you, so we'll go ahead and if we can move on to the next slide. I just wanted to take a little trip back down to 2021. So we opened the shelter in December of 2021. A few months before that, in June of 2021, we began a planning process, and you see many of the partners. We may have omitted some by accident, but you see it was really a broad community effort in Crow Wing County. Besides the Interfaith Hospitality Network that was operated by the churches many years ago and now does not exist anymore, we have never had a place for unsheltered folks to sleep at night. So these groups got together and determined that we don't believe that anyone should have to sleep outside, especially in the winter months in our area. And so we spent 6 months of intensive planning and opened the shelter early in 2021. Next slide, please. So this summer, there were some changes made in ordinance in the city of Brainerd, which will impact the guests at the Bridge on 7th, namely that it's not legal to camp on public land anymore, on city land. And so one of the responses in there is that, of course, law enforcement would refer those who they may have interactions with to supportive services. Well, as of right now, the supportive service is the Bridge on 7th, but it is not open during the late spring through the summer months. So we received many requests from a variety of sources wondering if we would keep our shelter open all year round. I took that request to our board, and these are some of the considerations that we have to think about. It would add 21 weeks of programming. That's almost a 70% increase to our programming time. We would have to reallocate the shelter manager, who's currently directed to a different program. We'd have to reallocate him back to the shelter all summer. We have some rent that we would have to reallocate. And there would just be some overall program, fund development, financial, and marketing resources redirected. We would have to also take into consideration the fact that we currently have a conditional use permit that expires at the end of this shelter season, which would go through the end of May of 2025. So we will be working with the city early in 2025 to talk about our new permitting. We don't have any reason to believe that our permit would not be extended. We have been a shelter in good standing. We have not had any significant issues, and I believe we're offering a true public benefit by having people be in one place. We've worked with community services, and they've indicated that it's much easier for their outreach to our guests because they know where they are. They're staying at the shelter. They're not scattered all over the county and the community. But we just wanted to make sure that that's noted, that we have permitting and we have lease renegotiations coming up next year. So for us to say that we would keep the shelter open all year round, there's just some long-range planning and financial sustainability issues, and that's where the Opioid Coalition approached us, asked if we would remain open. And so as of right now, our board has conditionally said that we would pilot one summer open, pending these funds being available, because it's a significant increase in our programming, and pending us working back with those early community partners to talk about long-range planning and sustainability. Next slide, please. So just to give you some idea of the service that we've provided, I won't go through each and every number, but you can see that since we opened in December of 2021, we have provided 4,689 nights of safe, warm place to sleep for 409 different individuals. That was a question we were asked quite often in the beginning, is do we really have a homelessness issue in our area? And I would say that based on the fact that 409 different people have stayed with us over 3 years, I would say we are responding to a community need. And then there's just some outlining there of the changes that it would be for us. We would be increasing from just over 3 full-time equivalent in staffing to over 5. You see the increase of the cost of operations, and mainly that's in staffing and lease. And then you see, we would go from 31 weeks of programming currently to a full 52 weeks if we moved to this model. So that's the information that I'm bringing forward to you all to help you understand where we're coming from, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that might come up.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I do have a couple questions for you. Mm-hmm. The first one being that you don't have the okay from the city council to do a 12-month operation. Makes it difficult for us to consider allocating $200,000 for a 12-month, 24-month operation. So I want that on the record, that it feels like the cart is before the horse in this case. The second thing is you talk about the sustainability and that, and maybe you could go into a little more detail on what you perceive as the potential for that, because these are one-time dollars. We're not looking at being able to do ongoing support, although, and I support your mission. I think it's a great one, and it's been very successful down there in that neighborhood, so I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I just see there's some genuine concerns from my perspective
Sure.
regarding the operation.
I can understand that, there are certain dominoes, so to speak, that need to fall. And so I hear what you are saying in terms of allocating those funds before you know if we have permission. And then our board wants to know that the funds are there before we go forward and make our requests. I guess I don't know what liberties you maybe can take, if there can be some conditional approval of the funding pending the final decision being that we will be open for the summer. That would be one suggestion I might make. And then in terms of long-term sustainability, we have a few things that we're working on. I give our community immense credit. This shelter so far has been funded 100% by individuals, businesses, service clubs, churches, and some grant funds. In addition to our thrift store profits, we own and operate 3 thrift stores, and we have allocated some of our profits from our stores to this shelter. When we look forward, we have some things in place with the state of Minnesota, a cost-neutral transfer. I would have to yield to Kara Terry and Tammy Lewick to maybe explain more about that. But we are looking more widely at how do we do this, because it may not be sustainable simply on the backs, so to speak, of local residents. We do have people who care immensely about this topic and this shelter, and I do believe that we will continue to receive support and funding from our community, but we really do need to look more broadly in terms of maybe building a trust, maybe working with the state, and then some local avenues as well.
So to follow up, if you didn't get the approval from the city council to do a 12-month operation, would you be coming back and asking for a different allocation out of the opioid dollars?
Well, I would just remind that we haven't asked for the opioid coalition, so I guess the dollars, I would have to defer to Kara on how those funds would be offered to us. Again, I think the reason that they came up was because we already have a little bit of a issue moving, not even an issue, but we know we have to work forward to sustainability only being open 31 weeks. So if we're also working toward that being somewhat of a new operation, and we're being asked to increase our services by almost 70%, that's where there's some push and pull and some need for collaboration here.
Okay, so going backwards, Kara, you said the coalition, or I think, Gianna, you might have said the coalition brought this forward, not your organization. Right. So you answer that question. If they aren't allowed to do a 12-month operation, what is the coalition's thought on these dollars?
So the coalition, we haven't had this discussion specifically, but what I do know in terms of other nonprofits within the community, we've had a grant-making process that we've gone through where nonprofits in the community can apply for a specific grant amount. We had allocated up to $200,000 the last time. We are nearing the end of our first grant round, which will bring updates for you at an upcoming meeting. I would assume that based on the coalition's history, that we would embark on that same process. So if the $200,000 is not approved for Bridges of Hope, that if Bridges of Hope is in need of funding, that if we were to open a new grant round of requests, that they would apply like other nonprofits would apply in the community for dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Just going to give you my position. I'm not going to support this if this comes to a vote. It doesn't, in my mind, it just doesn't meet the criteria for what the opioid dollars are meant for. I think to me, I think the opioid dollars are meant to help with addiction and programs along that line. I just don't think, you came forward, the coalition came forward and wanted to give $100,000 to the sheriff's department. I think the county board didn't agree with that, with the medical cart either. We didn't agree with that because I think, at least what I feel, is it doesn't meet the criteria of what the dollars are meant for. They're not just a slush fund to be handed out to groups that that are actually doing great work, but I think that has to be narrowed down to what the dollars were meant for and what the lawsuit was all about. And so I'm not going to support $200,000 to this. I know I probably seem like the bad guy again, but you know what? I've been the bad guy for the last 20 years in public office, but this doesn't fit the criteria in my mind of what these dollars are supposed to be spent on.
Mr. Chair, may I comment, Commissioner Coring? Commissioner, the way the Opioid Coalition has looked at the allocation of these dollars is that people who are struggling with addiction and or are in any sort of crisis, one of the most difficult pieces of getting their lives in order is not having a stable home in which to live. If they're consistently looking for housing, looking for a place to sleep, looking for a place to sleep that's safe, that gets in the way of trying to deal with all of the other issues, including the substance misuse that they're dealing with. So providing some sort of safe and not necessarily stable, but at least safe housing helps to bridge one of those issues, that being homelessness. So then they can try and focus on getting housing, getting healthy, dealing with their addiction, and that type of thing. So the coalition sees a connection there, which is why I brought it forward. To your point about the jail health, I agree with you in terms of allocating that $100,000 I brought forward based on the coalition's recommendations, to which I didn't support it. So I guess we're the bad guys, both of us, on that recommendation. I believe this would be helpful to allocate the dollars toward the Bridge on 7th to help those unsheltered individuals, but it also helps our staff, like Gianna mentioned, to know where they are. So when folks are scattered around the county, our staff take time to try and find those people to help with resources and to get them stable. And providing a place in which they can shelter gives us an opportunity to connect easier with them. It also keeps them off of the public land as well, gives them a place to lay their head at night. Not everybody will use it, and we know that, but for those individuals that would use it year-round, it would be a good opportunity to have that resource in place.
Is this a first-come, first-served basis? Like, if there's, I don't know how many beds there are, but if there's 40 beds and there's 50 people, how do you figure out who uses these beds?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our shelter has the capacity for 30 individuals, and that's rated by the occupancy that we were given permission. We have had 3 or 4 nights in the just last year in January, during the coldest time, we did have to turn 1 or 2 people away. We were then able to offer a fuel card, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at least those individuals who had a vehicle were able to stay warm in their car overnight. We then go back to that long list of partners and talk about what does an overflow plan look like? How do we help direct other individuals to other places? So absolutely, it is a first come, first serve. So when we spread the word, we encourage people to check in early. Check-in begins at 7 p.m. up until 11 p.m. And in that case, it is a first come, first serve. We are seeing increase in utilization. This time last year, we maybe had between 10 and 12 people staying with us at this point in the season. We're up over 20 people already this year staying with us for the season. So people have found us, they know we're there, and we're serving as best we can. Yep.
Mr. Chair, and I will say, and thank you, Kara, for what you were saying, because I think there is a direct tie back to the opioid issue with regards to these people, whether they are running from somebody who's a user or it's a bad situation, or they're currently using. But I think that, during these coldest months particularly, I think that we're going to pay the price one way or the other as taxpayers of Crow Wing County. So I prefer having them in one place, better contact, perhaps a better outcome for all of them. Not all of them will take advantage of that, but I think we have to try. So I would support it. 200,000 is just a number. We haven't gotten to shake it out where that might, whatever that number, final number might be, but I appreciate your mission and I appreciate your explanation, so thank you.
And I have another question. The unique individuals, if you add them up, does come to 409, but the nights of sleep would come to 8560. Am I missing something? Am I not doing this right, or?
So we count nights of sleep. So we might have somebody who comes, one of those 409 people may have stayed with us for 1 night. And then others, so it's adding up all of the different people who have stayed with us and how many nights they've stayed with us. that's really a way that we can quantify our service better than saying how many individuals we're serving. It's what was our capacity on any given night. And so that's, if we have 20 people who stayed with us last night, that's 20 nights of sleep is how we count it.
I guess I still don't understand. How did you come up with the 4689? If you add the 79, the 161, the 154, the 15, it's 409. But if you add these others, it doesn't come up to 4689. I guess I'm not...
I guess if we, you know what? Yep, we have a math error there. You're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. It's more nights of sleep than that. I apologize for that. Yep. Thank you.
Rosemary's thorough.
Yes, appreciate that. So what I can say is so I would refer you to the numbers in the individual years, and I apologize for the total being incorrect there.
That 200,000, where did that number come from? Is it a number that's needed?
The shelter operations?
Right. Who asked for that amount?
So that's our true cost through that point in the year, and then an estimation of what the remainder of this year will cost. So those are our operations at Bridges of Hope.
And then, sorry.
Oh, sure.
Excuse me.
Yep.
And then the 200,000 is a number that the coalition came up with to help support the additional time the shelter is open based on some of the knowledge that the coalition had around the expenses related to the shelter. So knowing that the other work that we have going on, trying to get approval through DHS to pay for some of the beds, as well as other operating costs and additional revenues, the coalition thought $100,000 per year might help to make up for those additional weeks.
I'm okay with the supporting of it. I'm not sure of the number yet. And that's where I have a little bit of question, just to say, here's a number, let's approve it, and here you go. I believe in supporting it. I think it has a lot of positives that can happen by being more of a year-round program. I'm just not sure what that number is yet. Anything else from the?
Yeah. Check-in is from 7 to 11, and you have to leave by 8 o'clock, isn't it? Where do these people go during the day?
That's a really good question. So it varies. Some people have work that they go off to. Just because someone is unsheltered doesn't mean they're not gainfully employed. It might just mean that they haven't found a housing vacancy, or maybe they don't have enough money saved yet to get into their own housing. So we do have folks who head off to work each morning. And then we have some who, I'm not sure, just like I'm not sure what they do during the day. They find somewhere to be, somewhere to stay warm. And then we have a really strong partner in Open Arms Day Center. It's a day center that many of our guests can get transportation to if they sign up. And they go there during the day. It's a safe, warm place to be. There's food. There is help with resume writing, job searching. That's where a lot of the relationships are built. To Commissioner Coring's point, how does this tie back? We have many people, they could give statistics on how they are helping people get into treatment and into housing by those connections during the day. So by us having a safe, warm place to sleep and sort of being a entry point and then handing them off to those day services, we can help people improve their lives in different ways.
I'm definitely in favor of a hand up. I just don't want it to be a hand out.
Sure.
And that's the only concern I have with it, is making sure it's all vetted properly and we are accomplishing what we want to accomplish with this. But I don't know the number yet.
And Commissioner, I'm not sure how to give that to you. We have this information here. We are waiting for DHS to make a decision on the beds. Tammy, do you want to come speak to? I'll have Tammy talk about our work with DHS has been years in the making.
Good morning, Tammy Lewick, Community Services. Yeah, we put a request in November 2nd of '22. So this is how long we've been waiting on a cost-neutral transfer. So that was taking right 2 beds that we had as a county. It's what we use sometimes to develop projects like our White Oaks project over in Baxter. We use 20 beds there. So we put a request into DHS because this is what other shelters across our state have done, and so we took their guidance, we put that request in, and the state has not had not moved on that. We did find out this summer that we are a part of some counties that have put requests forward that will be I don't know if the right word is grandfathered in, but they will be taking our request. And actually this morning I got an email that says that they will be putting a contract in place with us before the end of the year. We still have not been confirmed on an amount. At the time of our request, we asked for right around $249,000 to support a year-round shelter. I'm not sure, again, about the amount and I've asked them that actually again this morning. What is the number that will be, or the amount that will be given, and will it be an ongoing annual direct allocation from the state to support our sheltering in this community? Any other questions on that?
Mr. Chair, I'll just go back for a second and say, I'm okay with a $200,000 placeholder. We haven't spent a dime. So in terms of looking at what the criteria that I've mentioned about whether the city will allow it and whether we go back to just a 9-month or 8-month operation, then that number will change. But in terms of a placeholder, it is an idea the coalition has brought forward, and I'm comfortable with that as a placeholder. So I'll let it go at that for now.
So then, Mr. Chair, my question is what's the ask today?
Yeah.
Are you asking to approve it today, or?
Ideally, we would like decision made today if we can allocate those dollars so they are there if needed, up to 200,000, being 100,000 for this upcoming year and then the following year. And then we would bring back to you more specific information about the dollar amount. As Tammy mentioned, we're waiting to hear from DHS on the amount we will be allocated through our cost-neutral transfers. So we don't have an exact dollar amount that way, but just ask if we could allocate those dollars so Bridges of Hope can move forward in their planning.
Mr. Chair, but one of the expectations is that the city of Brainerd will allow a 12-month operation.
Correct.
Okay.
So that would be a part of it as well. That would be a part of Bridges of Hope, Bridge on 7th planning.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, I would make the motion to approve the $200,000 allocation as a placeholder at this time.
Motion by Barrows, second. Second by Lubke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Did you say aye? Aye. Opposed, same sign?
No.
No. 3-1, motion carries.
Thank you. And then I just have one additional edit for you, Commissioners, on the opioid settlement tracking spreadsheet that I sent to you yesterday.
Yep.
At the very bottom in this tiny little print, there are canine expenses. You'll see canine expenses, $1,100. But if you go over to the dollar column, it says $31,000. That is an error. So that amount should be $1,100, not $31,000.
It looked a little heavy.
Yeah, so just noting that. I'll get the adjusted tracking spreadsheet sent to you this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, I do have some questions on some of these other allocations, and this will be for the Sheriff's Department. So if, Dan, if you want to come forward. So I'm going to start with the animal portion, the dog portion, okay?
Sure.
So if we take that 30,000 out of there, we're still at 18,100. And we've had,
Correct.
Is this going to be a new animal, or is it the current animal?
This would be for ongoing costs for both animals that we have.
So you have
for
two
both
animals.
Roxa and Rhea.
And they both were included in our 24 budget.
Correct.
So why would we, where's the relation? I know that they're drug dogs,
Correct.
but it's already in our levy to take care of these animals. Why wouldn't it be part of our 25 levy?
It's basically supplementing our 2025 levy is what we would be using the opioid fundings to actually incur these or pay for these costs.
So wouldn't that be a budget amendment for 25? Because we're about to approve the 25 budget.
Well, these, to go back, I'm not exactly sure when this was actually approved, but this was approved on, I do believe was it the first request?
Some of the expenses have been approved, commissioners, and others were pending. The K-9 expenses were approved. The late-ed expenses are what's pending.
We'll get to that in a minute, but
Kara, excuse me, Mr. Chair, Kara, the blue shaded ones are ones that were approved? No,
No.
they are the ones that are pending.
Correct.
Okay.
And so you can see there is one K-9 expense.
102,000.
that's 2,000 for the K-9,
Yeah, no, I haven't.
because 98 is medical.
Are you looking at which expense? You're looking at the 18,100 total, correct,
Correct.
Commissioner?
So it would be those 4 line items at the bottom, plus the 2,000 on the,
It would be these.
that's incorporated in that medical fee, 100,000, so there's $2,000 there identified as K-9 expenses also.
And the ones that are pending there, I am not exactly sure where those came from, because on our requests that we had sent in, I did not see that there was any K-9 requests on that portion, on the August 5th request, or actually, I do believe it was probably the first board meeting in August. Must have been like the 13th of August, I would assume. Where we came forward with the second request of additional costs that we're looking at. So that, when you're looking at that 2,000 along with a medical fee of 100,000, that medical fee of 100,000 was the discussion point that we had discussed here, I do believe on the August 27th board meeting.
And I remember that one.
Yep, and that one was, omitted or voided off the record, I do believe, so.
So I'm not quite following you, Dan.
Okay.
You said there wasn't a request for these K-9 expenses, so that would include the 18,100 then?
Well, the 18,100 was approved on the original request. When you're looking at the spreadsheet with the blue highlighted portion of it, where there's that additional 2,000,
Yep.
that I went back in my records and I did not see any requests for that.
So that could be taken off from there?
Yes, yep, that can be taken off because right now, all our K-9 expenses are covered under that first request, under the $18,100.
Where was that approved?
I don't
I don't
recall, I want to say that was probably at a July board
I
meeting.
believe it was around July. It was when we brought other requests forward. It was pre-Bridges of Hope and the jail health request. So it was a meeting before then. I can get exact dates though and send it to you.
Mr. Chair, was that not, the K-9 expenses that would have been approved in the July meeting was a one-time startup cost, correct? It was not ongoing costs. There was some discussion about one-time costs for the new dog. That's where the discussion was around funding out of the opioid funds, one-time fee for some of the costs of starting up the new dog, not the ongoing expenses into 24, 25 for the existing canines. That was my recollection of what was discussed.
I would have to go back and look. Obviously, I wasn't the one bringing forward the request as well, too, and I wasn't here to speak to it at that point. So I would like to go back and look at the records as well, too.
I think that would be a good idea.
Well, Mr. Chair, this is almost bordering on ridiculous. I almost feel like Tim Bray's going to stand up and ask for opioid dollars to start building a new highway. I mean, this doesn't even make sense. That's what the whole opioid settlement was not intended. These dollars weren't intended for a whole slush fund, in my mind. I don't know.
just to speak to, obviously, the canines are drug dogs, so, and that obviously goes along with the opioid piece of it as well, too. I don't know, Adam, if you recall what the original request was as well, too. You guys are with the coalition, so.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, specifically my memory, back in July, because I am a part of the Blade Coalition, and during one of our meetings, we specifically spoke of less lethal launchers for our canine teams. And in my memory, I thought we pulled it out of our 2025 budget because it was approved through the opioid dollars. And to expand on the less lethal launchers, our dogs are no longer street dogs, meaning they're not for biting or apprehension. Does that make sense?
Yep.
They're only drug dogs and tracking dogs. It takes away a tool from our law enforcement officers. Our canine handlers can no longer control someone by the bite of the dog. Therefore, we asked for additional monies to provide less lethal launchers. It's a 40 millimeter launcher. We carry them in some of our squad cars, but to provide them to our canine officers to give them another tool while they're on a track or they're trying to apprehend someone. So my recollection, we received approval through the Blade Coalition to fund our less lethal launchers, 2 of them, one for each canine handler. Also, like I said, I believe we pulled that out of our 2025 ask.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be something we have on our budget for 2025.
And Commissioners, to that point, this was brought forward to you in another meeting. Andy was here to explain some of those expenses, and those canine expenses were approved, and I am not sure how they've been allocated to this point in terms of spending, but the 4 canine expenses were approved by you at another county board meeting. So I will follow up and get that information and send it to you in an email. We also had the discussion around LATED and the dollars associated with additional insurance, I believe, were some of the questions related to cost, as well as software that they needed. And so we were going to bring that back to you to answer any questions that you had related to that work as well. And Dan or Adam could speak to those dollars.
I thought we approved those dollars, the insurance dollars. Thought that was already approved.
Mr. Chair, I believe what was approved, Commissioner Barrows, was the data storage system for LATED, but there was additional information that was being requested regarding the insurance piece, given that the insurance was not a one-time cost, it was an ongoing cost, and we were not looking to fund ongoing operations out of the opioid dollars, that we were looking more for one-time expenses. So that's why additional information was being brought forward on that.
And so that's the $14,000 highlighted in blue information on the spreadsheet.
And I can speak to that as well, too. It is an ongoing cost, but it's not a cost that we have in our levy budget. It actually is a cost that is being currently paid out of our LATED forfeiture funds. And currently, our LATED forfeiture fund is probably right around, I think it was at the beginning of the month, right around $39,000. So as you can see, this $14,000 hit is quite a hit to that particular reserve account. And the forfeitures nowadays are not what they used to be, where they're coming in left and right. Well, not left and right, but there's less now than what there had been, previous to, 2020.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I understood back then when we had that discussion that this was a new requirement for the LATED operation.
It started this will be the 3rd year in 2025 where we're actually paying.
Might have misunderstood
the insurance piece of it, yes. It was paid this year and last year. 2025 will be the third year for that particular insurance piece.
So why wouldn't we include that in our normal levy request?
It was, as far as why wouldn't we? It's a lated cost. We have funding in the lated forfeiture piece of it.
So here's my problem, Dan.
Yep.
Opiate dollars are one-off dollars, one time. Year one and year two of this insurance issue, we paid it out of our levy.
No.
No, those were
Paid
paid.
it out of those
Yep,
forfeiture
out of the
dollars.
forfeiture funds as well, too.
But
So this
shouldn't
this
it be
would just.
included in the levy?
There's dollars that can be paid out of the lated portion, lated forfeiture fund, and this was deemed by the board, lated board, that we would be paying as long as there's funding for that out of the lated forfeiture fund.
So my question would be, why? Why wouldn't you ask for it to be part of the levy? Because it's going to be an ongoing cost for the sheriff's department into perpetuity, correct?
Correct, yeah,
Use
it'll
those
be.
forfeiture dollars for something else. Isn't that an
Chair.
expense that the county should be accepting?
So part of it is because we always talk about using the most restrictive funds first. So we look at the ways that we can utilize before we get to the levy funding. Are there other revenue sources that can be used to offset what that cost would be? The forfeiture funds specifically coming in that regard, it was a good use of those dollars because it was something that was directly related to LATED, so it was directly related to where the funds were received from and that expense that was part of that. There are still dollars available in the forfeiture funds that could be used to cover the expense of the insurance into the next couple of years, like it has been done over the past few years. I think what Dan is saying is because, like some of our other changes that we see, this is very similar to the tax forfeiture process, where we were utilizing those funds to help offset some of the levy need. There's going to be a reduction potentially into the future of those forfeiture funds for LATED to be used to pay for something like this. So yes, to your point, Commissioner Barrows, you're exactly right. It is an ongoing year after year expense that is going to need to be absorbed. At some point, it probably is going to need to get absorbed into the levy. This is a way of taking it maybe one step at a time to look at what are some other restrictive funding sources that could be used to offset that expense.
Well, and thank you, because my point is neither one are sustainable. Opiate dollars or, to your point, the forfeiture dollars. Neither one are carrying the load or will carry the load in the future. So we do have to either find another source or comes in on the levy. There aren't a lot of other options that I see because we have an unknown quantity of where other dollars might come from. But so that was my point. And
No, exactly. But if we can alleviate some costs to the taxpayers as well, too, I guess that's what we're looking at there as well.
So if I can move on then, just a little bit, because we also have investigations for $10,105. I just see several LATED and then investigations. Is there a difference, and why are there these different lines?
Yes, those are costs that were approved at the same time the K-9 expenses were approved, and those are actually for software costs for tools that we use.
Okay. I appreciate that.
You know, I almost, hard to say this, but I agree with Paul, and I also agree with Steve here. It's a little, that opiates funds isn't a slush fund just to grab money out of whenever we want, you know, and I think we have to be really, really cognizant of when we take that fund and start using it for things that maybe should be on a levy or other places to look at it. It is only one-time funding, so I just find it weird that I'm actually agreeing with both Paul and Steve on this one. So just thought I'd share that. But yeah, I think we have to be very cognizant of it, and I think those opiate funds were put out there for a real specific purpose, and we have seen a decrease in opiate deaths, and we have seen some things that look positive in that area. I just don't want those funds to all of a sudden go someplace else, and then when we come to look at something, we're doing good work and say, oh shoot, we already used those funds up for something else. So I'm just a little concerned about that, so I want to bring that to everybody's attention. Thank you.
So I think I'm done for now with you, but Kara, if you'll come back up. So on the revenue side,
Yes, sir.
it says that we were expecting payment number 5 in, was it June or July of '24? Then it says expected in '25 is payment number 5. So did we not receive payment number 5 from the state?
So you'll see that all of the are you under the revenue section?
Yes.
Okay. So you'll see that all of the receive dates.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, down under the expected activity in 2025, it says that the year 5,
Oh, yep.
or the number 5 payment was anticipated in July of '24, but it's under the heading expected activity in '25.
Yep, so we have not received it yet, because then it would move to the revenue portion.
And then up above, going back up under revenue, partial payment of number 7 has been received, but number 6 seems to be hanging out there somewhere in no man's land.
Right, so we have a regular reoccurring payment that will come in as part of the opioid dollars. That amount is the 107, I believe, here. But we also have revenue coming in for any other settlements that are made ongoing throughout the course of the opioid settlement lifetime, right? So if you'll see like Walgreens payments or CVS or other settlements that I've never heard of that are coming in too. Those are unplanned. Those come in when they're settled in court and then goes through the state process of allocation for each entity. And so I don't have a plan or any sort of way to keep track of those revenue dollars coming in. We're notified that they'll be coming in, and then we receive them. So it's really hard to anticipate revenue outside of the regular opioid payments that we're scheduled to get.
I find it, though, interesting, and this is nothing to do with you, but the state of Minnesota says we'll give you number 5, the 107, doesn't recognize number 6 to us, yet will give us a partial payment of the 107 for number 7.
And it might be easier if we look at a way of breaking out the revenue and a better way to look at this too. So we'll explore some formatting options, might be easier to
You aren't making excuses for the
understand.
state of Minnesota, are
Oh,
you?
heck
Because
no.
I get nervous about them.
No, oh gosh,
And how they
no.
handle our money.
Yeah, no, but in terms of the understanding of the payments, the timing, where they're coming in, who they're coming in from, maybe a little more information that way, it certainly would help me understand the revenues as well. But it's tricky. As you heard on our cost-neutral bed transfer, we've been waiting for, over 2 years on that for the state. It's tricky to know when payments are coming, the amounts that they're coming from the state, but also the federal settlements, so.
So would we have a idea at the end of the day, when all the opiate dollars settlements are supposedly run, do we have an idea what that amount of money is and where we're at in that path of getting there? Do we have an idea of that?
So over the course of the 18 years, Crow Wing County was set to receive about 2.5 million. That was before any of the other settlements. So we believe that's around the base amount that will be, 2.1 million. That's around the base amount that we'll be receiving over the next 18 years. There will be additional dollars based on all of the other settlements. I don't know the timing of the 2.1 million. It was more front-loaded, so we received more money on the front end. It'll be lesser as time goes on. But the other revenue sources, we have no idea.
So we have to be real cognizant of how we spend this money, so when we get towards that tail of it, as they would say, oh, now who's going to fund this?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So Commissioner Barrows, I feel your frustration with the state of Minnesota. Would I assume that you're kind of advocating maybe another party be in charge down there? Is that what you're, because it's all one party, it's all one party right now.
Let's keep this in Crow Wing County, please.
Okay.
Commissioner Coring, I think both parties are a mess, so that's just my opinion. And I think that nobody gives us exactly what we want as a county government. They just expect us to do whatever they tell us to do without telling us how we're going to do it or funding it.
Anything else for Kara or the opiate. Anything
Thank you
else?
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I'll get that information to you this afternoon.
Okay.
Next on the agenda, we have Administrative Services, University of Minnesota Extension, Memorandum of Agreement. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Tony Hansen, Regional Director with the University of Minnesota Extension. Wanted to appear before you to present the 2025 through 27 Memorandum of Agreement between Crow Wing County and the University of Minnesota Extension. Extension's been participating in this type of 3-year agreement process since 2004, and we have a current agreement that will wrap up at the end of 2024. This document covers a number of things related to the ongoing relationship between Extension and Crow Wing County. It outlines the responsibilities and commitments that each party brings. Crow Wing County provides an office space for the Extension staff who operate and serve county residents. The University of Minnesota Extension provides a 4-H Youth Development 1.0 FTE educator position, as well as a 0.5 FTE Master Gardener Coordinator position that serves the county. In addition, there are 2 SNAP-Ed Health and Wellness Coordinators who serve in Crow Wing County, and a part-time 4-H program educator who works with school programming here in the county as well. And so the document works through the responsibilities of each party, outlines conditions if either party would like to terminate the agreement at any point and how that would proceed. Exhibit A in the document is what specifically notes the package price for the 4-H educator position and the Master Gardener Coordinator position for the next 3 years. So there is a connection to the budget specifically for 2025. It also notes lower down in Exhibit A are internship costs. We participate in a Sourcewell grant process to offset a lot of the internship costs for our 4-H program as well. We're renewing these agreements with each county throughout the state of Minnesota this year, so every county's on the same timeline. The costs that you see for our positions noted in Exhibit A, the Master Gardener Coordinator and 4-H positions, are representative of the total package expenses for those positions, inclusive of benefits, supplies, mileage for those individuals, as well as their base salary. One other note I'll make is that for our Master Gardener Coordinator position, you'll see that it's noted as a 0.625 proposed for 2025 through 27. This is a change from the current 0.5 FTE. This is a recommendation from the Extension Committee to see this position expanded from a 20-hour-a-week position to 25 hours a week for the next year to further support the work that our coordinator is doing in that position and serving county residents with the Master Gardening program.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just a question, if you can answer it, otherwise I think maybe Deb would know, but this is another one of those that we're required to have, each county is required to have some kind of a relationship with the University of Minnesota. Am I correct in that?
It is not a requirement that a county has a MOA. It is dependent on what departments or programs the counties elect to have an investment in. One of the questions I've received at times, specifically related to the 4-H program, because that's maybe the most common one that Greater Minnesota has an investment in, is can counties operate that same program independent of Extension? And that is not a possibility per state statute. But if a county did not wish to have an investment in a 4-H program or a Master Gardener Coordinator program, that would be for the commissioners to decide.
Mr. Chair, but by statute, we are required to have a county extension office. We are required to have some form of extension outreach available to the constituents and residents of Crow Wing County. You choose which programmatic side of things that you wish to purchase, which is what you have all chosen to purchase, extension-related products like 4-H and Master Gardener. Those are the things that we have chosen to purchase from the university for the extension programming, but we are required by statute to have an extension office.
Are we Mr. Chair, are we required to have, we're not required to have a extension agent. I remember James Rebel was at one time our longtime extension agent.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Coring, that is correct. There used to be a system in extension that required every county to have an extension agent that was responsible for delivering the full menu of services that university offered for extension services. It's been probably 15 years maybe since the university went to their regional model that they now currently do, where instead of having an agent in every county, they have folks like Tony in his position who coordinate multiple areas, and then each county purchases the specific services that they want.
Yeah, for somebody who never grew up with 4-H in their life at all, but serving now on the board for a couple of years, I really see the value of what 4-H does for this community and for the people in it, especially the Master Gardener program. I think that has just taken off like unbelievable, and the support that you have for it, looking at what's been done out in the ARB and stuff like that, that's pretty cool. So just wanted to leave you with that.
Deb, are we also required to have an extension committee?
Mr. Chair, yes. By statute, we are required to have an extension committee as well, which is made up of representatives of the county board, county staff, and residents of the public. Tony, can you talk briefly about what the cost difference is between this last MOA and the current MOA?
Absolutely. So one other point to highlight, besides the cost increase that will come with a small expansion to the Master Gardener Coordinator position, is the year-to-year costs for our 4-H 1.0 FTE educator position. For 2024, the package price for that position is just over $80,000 as part of the current year budget. As part of the proposed 2025 budget that's already been submitted for Crow Wing County, the package price for that position is proposed to increase to $100,000. There's a few reasons for this increase. Now Extension works with the Association of Minnesota Counties and commissioners who represent different parts of the state on that subcommittee and putting together these package price proposals. This is meant to increase the starting salary or the base salary for our educator positions to ensure that they continue to be competitive and that we retain our skilled and experienced staff as much as possible in counties throughout the state. And so it is a larger year-to-year jump than typical. You will see, though, for 2025 through 27, the year-to-year increases beyond our proposed at just that 3% increase from year to year.
Yeah, that's a 25% increase. I think that's excessive.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Francine, just for clarification of what Tony was saying when he talks about the package pricing, this is compensation and benefits. This is not just the wage that they are receiving. This is wage and benefit, full total cost, everything that it costs the university to provide that service for us. So it's not just the salary that's being increased at that point. This MOA started, the current MOA was from 21 through 24, correct? So the last time we had looked at these prices or these costs was in 2021. And if you think about the change in what we've done currently within our own staff employment rates, we've made some significant investments in 2023, 2024, moving forward. So this is a little bit of a catch-up here, just like anything else with the inflationary aspects of what we're dealing with. This is now the fee that is being put in place for 2025 through 2027.
Mr. Chair and Madam Administrator, I would also note that when it comes to the benefit side, we protected ourselves with a contract that allowed us to have several years with minimal raises. I don't know that the university had that same protection, and so we're seeing out there in the marketplace double-digit increases in health insurance. So, you know, that's another piece of it that's we're not used to seeing at this point in our budget process. We'll probably see it next year, I think, whenever our...
When we're looking again.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to make a note of that.
Do you have anything else for us, Tony? Other than I think your ask is for a request for board action?
So, Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions, I would make the motion to approve the 2025 through 2027 memorandum of agreement for Crow Wing County Extension as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I will second that. Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
No.
So we have a tie. What do we do there?
Fails.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
So what is the
Mr. Chair, so essentially
Moving
that
forward.
means that at the end of 2024, you will no longer have any extension services that you're purchasing from the university.
So Master Gardeners goes away?
Master Gardener goes away, 4-H goes away. The only service that would not be part, well, the MOU would be expired as well, so the SNAP Ed educators, even though there's no cost to the county, is part of the MOA, that's part of this as well.
Is it proper for me to ask why the no's?
25% increase. To me, that's excessive. I would.
And it's already in our budget
It is built into the 2025 budget, yes.
that we've already
Through
approved?
27.
This is through 27, so this first year is built into the 2025 budget, that the preliminary levy level that you have adopted. Yes, that's built into that. And then it would be built into 26 and 27 as well.
Is there any way the Extension Service can go back and renegotiate this to less than 25%?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Franzine, there's not really a negotiation aspect in this regard. This is the rates that they have put out to say if you want to purchase the service. Now, your choice is, do you want to purchase a full-time educator? Do you want to purchase a part-time 4-H educator? They have different levels of service that they are providing. The educator position is a degreed, 4-year degreed educator who is bringing that outreach to the folks that they are serving. You'll see we have a coordinator level on the Master Gardener side. Instead of the educator level with the 4-year degree, there is a reduced level of experience and expertise that's there. They're more coordinating that program versus putting education out to the people. In the Master Gardener program, often they're educating themselves or each other in that regard. What you have right now is a full-time 4-H position, 4-H educator. I would remind you back to about, it's pre-COVID, so probably 2016, 2017, you previously had a half-time 4-H coordinator. At that point in time, the board chose to increase that to a full-time and switch it to an educator position. Same with the Master Gardener position. This was just a 0.5 previous. This new MOA is now expanding that to be a 0.625, so it expanded the amount of time that you are purchasing for a Master Gardener coordinator. So your choice could be to choose to not contract for one of those services or reduce the amount of time of what you are purchasing in each of those areas.
And could we do with the extension for the 4-H, could it be a coordinator rather than an educator? Is that less money?
Tony, do you have something to?
It's something we could look at. There are some different titles that come with a part-time position versus a full-time position that are more so reflective of the different qualifications that are required, just depending on the position that Extension feels is most befitting that recruitment. And however, it would, we would probably still keep it or describe it as a 4-H educator position, but it depends a little bit on the feedback from commissioners or what they would prefer to see in the proposed agreement.
I know we haven't always had a full-time 4-H. I don't know. I don't want to have it go away, but I just don't like the increased cost. Seems just too much.
But right now, the vote is 2 yes, 2 no, so it does go away at this point, once we finalize that, unless there's some...
Unless we can figure out something that we could
Right,
do that
right.
would...
Well, right now, it's set that way unless we bring it back. So,
Well, we could tell them, we're purchasing something. We could tell them we want a 3/4 educator, 4-H, and keep the master gardener at half, or, you know, it's kind of in our...
then do you want to do that right now, or do we...
Mr. Chair, I would not suggest that you try to negotiate down which level of service you want at this point in time. We could take this offline, take it back, have staff work with the extension service to come up with a couple of other proposals to bring forward at a later date.
What do we do with what we've done right now, with the votes and the seconds?
At this point in time, you have no action that's taken. So you voted on it, this motion failed, there's nothing that's happening at this point. So we could take it back, do some discussion, come back to you with a couple of other proposals for you to look at as well.
Does that need a motion?
No.
Okay. Are we okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
We don't have a choice.
Don't have a choice.
I don't think we want to negotiate right here. so-
No, no.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Next on the agenda, Veteran Service Officer.
So he has the green light.
Operation Green Light. Where's the green light?
Chair, Commissioners,
Yes.
thank you for having us here. We are here to talk about Operation Green Light. American counties have a long, proud history of serving our nation's veterans and legacy that continues to this day as we work with our federal, state, and local partners to ensure that the former service members in our communities have access to the resources they need to thrive. So the National Association of Counties and the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers have put forward an initiative of Operation Green Light. It's inviting the nation's 3,069 counties, parishes, and boroughs to join Operation Green Light and show support for veterans by lighting our buildings green from November 4th to November 11th. By shining a green light, county governments and our residents will let veterans know that they are seen, appreciated, and supported. This came through Jory and facilities, Joey. We kind of collaborated together and worked through this on how we wanted to answer this call of action. And so we developed a plan that with the All Veterans Memorials service or memorial site would have green lights on the north end shining onto the memorial year-round. So we're taking it a step above just the 1-week call before Veterans Day, so we can have that year-round to invite that discussion and support for our veterans in our community. Also, for the 1-week time frame from November 4th to November 11th, there would be one light or one window lit up in the historic courthouse on the
north side, right in the center of the building. It would actually be one group. There's 3 windows total, be comparable like what's in here. So it's one group of 3 windows right on the north side in the center of the building that we were thinking. And that would be just for the weeks from November 4th to November 11th. And then the lights at the monument, there's uplighting that shines up on that. That would be year-round that we'd be looking at doing.
And so we have a resolution that we are bringing forth to the county to accept. And that's what we're asking the county board to do or approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution supporting Operation Greenlight.
I'll second that.
Third?
Yeah.
Motion made and seconded.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment on this? I think this is an excellent idea. Veterans Day, or 11/11, is pretty significant in my life. That's the day that my dad passed away. He was a veteran that served during the Korean conflict. He actually served in Japan. And so I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Thanks.
So we have a motion by, was it by you, Paul, or by Francine, second by Coring? Do we have a cost? Are we adding a lot of cost to putting that in, or is it just changing of lights?
Yeah, so there's several different uplighting. Let's talk just at the monument, and we're looking at just taking 3 of the clear poly lenses off and putting green poly lens back in. Okay. And so that cost is under $50 for that sheet. And then the lighting, the strips, or the light at the window, we're going to put strips around the window. Those have been procured, and they're really reasonable.
Minimal. Okay. No, just thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah, very fair.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
County Sheriff.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm standing in for our sheriff and our chief deputy. I just want to take a moment to recognize, actually create some awareness, if people aren't aware already, our emergency management division. It's always been in the background for as long as I can remember being here. Extreme necessity. Hopefully we don't have to utilize their experience and their expertise. But as we know, we've had storms, we've had disasters, whether they are natural or man-made, and it's always nice to have that insurance of having such a functional and professional group of people who support us. Not just Crow Wing County, but all of our partners, private and public, our school districts, our medical facilities, and some of our private entities. Our emergency management division is it really supports them all, and it's like your low range on your 4-wheel drive. You don't ever need it, but when you do, it really helps you get out of a pickle. So they're like a group of cogs that just are slow and steady. So with that, I want to introduce Clayton Barger, emergency management director, and he has some introductions of his own to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Good morning.
Again, it's always a pleasure to stand before you, and again, I always say thank you for your support. For emergency management, we can't do, our division can't do what we want to do out there without your support. So while I was sitting down through the meeting, just kind of took some notes as far as things that we're currently working on within emergency management. I stopped writing after a while because I didn't want to take up too much time, but I just kind of cover a couple of the things that we've been working on in the past and also coming up here in the future. Obviously, we had our airport exercise that, from my understanding, went well, and those who, again, participated in that exercise said they had some great takeaways from participating in it, and then also from emergency management perspective as well, some good takeaways as far as things we can work with as well going forward. One of those was our kind of a mass fatalities training, wanting to maybe expand on that and seeing what that would look like if an incident were at the airport were to happen. And so we participated in a FEMA mass fatalities exercise, or a tabletop exercise that they had done up in Cloquet since then. Also coming up this week, FEMA's got we have the election coming up, so they have a tabletop exercise for IPAWS, which is our integrated public alert and warning system. So looking as far as, okay, well, if something were to happen within our community, how can we get that message out to our community members? Cass County is going to be putting on a tabletop exercise here. It was supposed to be this week, got postponed for a train derailment. So working with them on that train derailment tabletop exercise, and then taking the lessons learned from that as far as how can we bring that back into our community and be better prepared going forward. We also have, coming up this week, we have a radio programming training down in St. Cloud for working with our, not only the sheriff's office, but everybody within the county that utilizes our Armor radio network, which is our Allied Radio Matrix and for emergency response, so those 800 megahertz radios. Every 2 years, we need to be going out there and doing training to everyone that utilizes those radios. So emergency management, along with our dispatch center, puts on those trainings going forward. And again, every 2 years, getting out with our first responders, our school districts, and everyone in the community, again, that use those 800 megahertz radios. This weekend also we have a 3-day search and rescue training that's coming up in Nisswa that we're participating in. Again, taking those lessons learned from that training. Obviously, we have deer hunting coming up, so those hunters that get lost out in the wilderness, lost children, so that we're out there getting better prepared on that aspect as well. Still continue to work with FEMA on their national exercise program, and the tabletop exercise, we'll be working with them next fall in the Breezy Point, that severe windstorm exercise that we'll be putting on. And every 5 years, we need to go through our hazard mitigation plan for the county. So we just started that back in June. That's going to be an 18-month process. And again, we're working up and going through that process to getting that finalized as well. We're also looking at doing a complete rewrite of our emergency operations plan, which includes our continuity of operations plan and several other plans within that emergency operations plan. So within the upcoming weeks or months, look forward to seeing some changes to that, pushing those forwards and getting some input as we go forward on those as well. And part of those plan rewrites is working on our sheltering plan. That's been about, I'd say, almost 12 to 13 years since we've had a good look at what our sheltering plan looks like. Should there be a case where, again, a wildfire where we have displaced community, or if we have a fire at the high rise in the middle of the winter, where are those residents going to go? What does that sheltering plan look like? So emergency management is currently looking at working with Public Health and our American Red Cross with that partnership and reviewing our sheltering plans for the county as well. I believe last time I spoke with everyone, we talked about, we'd applied for a Armor grant for 2024 or through 2026, and we didn't get approved for the entire amount, but we did get $40,000 through the state for that. So finalizing that grant process, which will be utilized for purchasing APEX 6500 radios for our sheriff's office and updating those communication needs. And then again, probably the last on here was as far as working with the state again, as far as that state disaster declaration, and working with our townships to make sure they get that reimbursement back for those expenses incurred during the tornado back on June 12th. The most exciting news that I have for everyone on the board is that we have 2 new additions to the Crow Wing County Emergency Management Division. We have hired a new coordinator, and also we have an intern that's joined us as well from the University of North Dakota. And I'll introduce them now. We have Liz Gleason, if she'd come up, and again, it would be our new emergency management coordinator. Liz is no stranger to the sheriff's office. She's been on our drone team for several years now, and undoubtedly our drone team is integral when it comes to search and rescue, and also as far as our disaster response on June 12th as well, when we look at our disaster assessments. So again, I'll introduce Liz, if you have any questions for Liz.
Hello. I'd like to say that appreciate the opportunity to be working with the county in a different capacity. I worked with Brainerd PD for 5 years, so this is a new role for me with new things to do. So very excited about that.
So have you worked with Clayton before?
Yes, with the drone team.
And you're still willing to come on board?
Everyone keeps telling me that. I haven't figured out what everyone's warning me about yet, but
You'll be busy.
I'm fine with that. I like being busy, so.
Good. Well, welcome.
And then from NDSU, we have Jason Klein, who has, again, has a bachelor's degree in emergency management, and part of their bachelor's degree program, they have to do an internship. So he'll be interning with us. He extended his internship. Actually, hope we're already have him here through the first part of February. So, again, Jason Klein.
County Board, I'd just like to say thanks to Clayton and the Sheriff's Office for taking me on. It's a great opportunity to be able to take what I've learned in the university and to actually watch it be applied. There's something to be said about watching something that you've spent a lot of money and time and effort watching it come to fruition and being able to apply yourself. So
I think it's a real opportunity for you to work under Clayton.
Absolutely.
And, you know, because the rest of the world is a lot calmer than Clayton is, but he prepares well for those tragedies that may occur. So I think it's a great opportunity, and welcome to Crow Wing County.
Always prepared. Thank you.
I think you also have to tell Clayton there's a difference between NDSU and UND.
My apologies. Barring any questions for me, that's all I had.
It was nice talking to you yesterday, and thank you for helping out with that situation. We have a siren up we're trying to figure out who has it, what jurisdiction it's in. And I went out and I had the opportunity to go out and take some pictures of it for you yesterday, save a little trip up north. So thank you for calling and being concerned about that.
No, anytime, like I say, I always have my phone on, so if anything comes up, please give me a call.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton.
County Attorney, you are here and present.
I was trying to do it on Zoom, but it kept cutting out, so you know me, I'm not very techy, so I just came over here. I don't have anything for you today, but I just figure I should at least make a cameo once in a while, so, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Good idea. I do have a question, Mr. Chairman, if that would be okay.
Please ask.
Are you ready?
You bet.
Okay. So, as you might remember, I'm not a big fan of the misguided people that thought we needed a new state flag and a new state seal. And if I recall correctly, and Debbie, you help me if I'm speaking incorrectly, but I think the taxpayers of Crow Wing County are responsible to revamp any things that happen in the courtrooms, and the taxpayers of Crow Wing County pay for the getting rid of the seals and putting up new seals. And so I asked Debbie about that. I says, I think those seals should be on our excess auction, that somebody might want to bid on those. Got a beautiful one back here. And Debbie informed us that there's a statute that says transfer to the State Historical Society required by statute 1.135 subdivision 6. All unused dies, engravings of the Great Seal shall be given to the Minnesota Historical Society, along with historical information available about the seal. How can that happen when the taxpayers of Crow Wing County paid for those and they're taken away from the taxpayers up here? I don't understand that.
Because the Minnesota legislature created a law, and then you have to abide by it.
Can we sue them?
You can sue anybody you want for anything. That's the wrong question. Can you win? That's the question you should be asking me.
Well, I think it's wrong. I really think it's wrong. That'd be just like if the legislature, Steve, I'm on your side this time on the legislature saying, well, when we're done with our snowplow trucks, we have to deliver them over to the state garage. It'd be the same thing. It's just ridiculous.
Commissioner Coring, so for instance, when we went to more of a Westlaw or an electronic law library system, we also needed to discuss with the Minnesota Historical Society if they wanted all the old books that we may not keep. There also is a process where the Minnesota Historical Society can waive it and say they don't want it. So they may not want every metal seal or every old flag from every county in the state. I don't know. So there's a process where we can look into that and request it. I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Chair, if the board wants me to, and Commissioner Coring.
Could you please look into that? Would that be okay with the rest of us? Sure.
I'm not going to put it on the top of my priority list, just so you're not expecting me to report back in 2 weeks. I'm just letting you know. But we will look into it. I am not completely familiar with the way in which the new seal and flag were enacted, so maybe they've already anticipated people wanting to keep those and said, no, they all have to be turned in. But I can get you some background information, come back to the board at a future meeting and share that.
I'd appreciate that. I just don't think it doesn't pass the smell test to me, but I'd appreciate it, Don.
I'd do that for you. Yep.
Any other questions for our county attorney?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
County administrator.
Mr. Chair, just a couple of items today. The first one being the senior management team report. The senior management team did meet last Monday, and we had a couple of things that we talked about on our agenda. We have a new continuous improvement cohort that did kick off last week, so we are now adding more capacity to our continuous improvement team across the county. The other thing that we discussed was performance-based pay as we're getting to the end of 2024, making sure that all of our folks, our supervisors are having those conversations with those employees in those departments. How are we making sure that we are communicating what outperformance looks like, wanting to make sure there are no surprises as we move into that performance management end of season process. So a couple of things that we discussed at senior management and continue to talk about as we move into the next year as well. The second item I have for you today is appointments to the Natural Resource Advisory Committee. We have two vacancies, two at-large vacancies on the Natural Resource Advisory Committee, both for terms expiring January 31st of 2027. We did receive 2 letters of interest or notice of interest from Doug Hansen and Rick Scogan. So the action we are asking for is for the chair to appoint Doug Hansen and Rick Scogan to replace Chris Pence and Jeff Berg as the at-large representatives on the NRAC committee expiring January 31st of 2027.
Is that a chair appointment?
That is a chair appointment.
Anybody on the board have any challenges with that?
No.
Okay. I so move and appoint those 2 people for the Natural Resources Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I had, unless any of you have any questions for me.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Please ask.
Okay. Since this probably would be directed to Jory, but Jory's not here, so I'm going to direct it to you. Being that this is the last county board meeting before the election on November 5th, I'm just wondering if an update on how things are going, if there's, and how the election process is going. I know I see it on TV all the time that there's a huge turnout of absentee or early voting, and I'm just wondering if you could just give us a little update on how things are going, or maybe you don't know.
Sure. No, I can. I'm still aware. I haven't gotten my toes completely out of the elections process yet, so I'm still kind of working in that regard as well. Like you're seeing across the country, early voting, absentee voting has been strong here in Crow Wing County as well. The early voting, which is where voters can place their ballot directly into the tabulator here at our office, began last Friday and will continue until 5 o'clock on the Monday before Election Day. We are seeing a strong turnout of folks who are choosing to come in and vote that way. We had a strong request of absentee ballots to be sent out to people as well. So we are continuing those processes. Jory was here earlier, but he had to step out because public testing of election equipment is happening this morning and this afternoon. They had the first 2 sessions yesterday, 2 more sessions today and 1 tomorrow to get all of the equipment tested and ready for the polling places. Because of the fact that we are so busy with voting, there are some additional hours that the public should be aware of also if they're interested in voting early. In addition to the regular 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, the elections office will also be open on the 2 Saturdays before the election from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday, November 3rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And next Tuesday on the 29th, I believe that is, until 7 p.m. for folks who want to vote early. We'll also have all the materials and everything ready to go out to the polling places. So if anybody is interested in voting on Election Day and they are curious as to where their voting location is, they should check out their voting location at mnvotes.org, and it will tell them where they can put in their address, can tell them where they would vote, directions to their polling place, as well as a sample ballot and all the candidates that will be on the ballot in their polling place.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do have one thing. I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
We have a motion from Barrows.
I would second that motion.
And we have a second from Coring.
Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.